Her lawyer called her that morning. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but the house was quiet, and her voice carried through the thin walls like smoke. She sat in the kitchen, her coffee untouched, the phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, I'm sure," she said. "I'm divorcing him. I can't live on his pathetic salary anymore." The word pathetic slid off her tongue like venom. My own name didn't even sound like mine anymore. I stood at the corner of the hallway, half hidden in shadow, half exposed to the light, listening to my wife dismantle my life, syllable by syllable, as if she were reading a grocery list. When she hung up, she exhaled, not with sadness, but with relief. Relief like a prisoner walking free. That was the first time I truly looked at her, not as the woman I had loved, but as a stranger who had lived beside me under false light. That evening, I told her she could have whatever she wanted, the house, the car, even the savings we'd built together. I agreed to every term her lawyer proposed. I didn't argue. I didn't even flinch. She thought she'd won. But winning is a matter of timing. And I had learned patience from the same silence she mistook for weakness. The night she moved out, she didn't look back. Her perfume lingered in the air, faint and chemical, like a lie trying to fade. Her mother helped her pack. They whispered about her new beginning, about how I'd never be able to keep up with her ambitions. I watched from the doorway, expressionless, quiet inside. Something deep within me was uncoiling. When the last box left the house, I stood in the empty living room and listened to the echo of my own breathing. It was strange how peaceful it felt. I didn't chase her. I didn't beg. I simply sat down, opened my laptop, and began to type. Old habits die hard. I'd always been the quiet one, the observer, the man who noticed the details others overlooked. Her lawyer sent me the final draft of the divorce settlement. I signed it without reading, deliberately. He didn't realize that his signature had once crossed mine before, on a very different kind of document. And as I stared at the paper, one thought repeated in my mind like a pulse. You should have known better than to play with contracts you don't understand. The weeks after she left were silent. Too silent. Her friends stopped calling. Her mother never returned my messages. It was as if I had ceased to exist in their version of the world. But silence, that's where truth breathes. I began pulling threads, small ones at first. Emails. Old financial transfers. Unexplained dinners charged to the same business account. Her lawyer's name kept appearing. Once on a flight booking. Again on a hotel receipt. Coincidence? I don't believe in those anymore. While she paraded her newfound freedom online, I was tracing every step of that independence, back to him. A partnership built not on love, but on shared greed. The day before our court date, I filed a quiet amendment to the settlement, an ownership declaration attached to a limited holding company. Her lawyer had drafted the original contract. He never noticed the cross-reference. He didn't realize that by signing my final surrender, he had authorized a transfer of controlling interest to me, to the company his firm had been laundering funds through. And she, his client, my wife, was listed as co-beneficiary. Their signatures were identical. Their arrogance, identical too. All I needed was time. A month later, she called. Her voice was triumphant. "It's done," she said. "We're free." I congratulated her. Told her I hoped she'd find peace. That same week, her lawyer called her. I wasn't there, but I can imagine the tremor in his voice when he said, "Why didn't you tell me about this?" Because she wouldn't have known what he meant. She wouldn't have understood the panic behind his words. He'd just received a notification. The holding company they'd been using to move money was now under new ownership. Mine. Every transaction. Every account. Every falsified record. All legally tied to their signatures. To each other. Not to me. I could almost hear her confusion spreading like cracks through glass. I didn't need to see her face. I'd already seen the type. The moment realization hits, pride turns to fear. And fear turns to silence. I sat alone in the same kitchen where she'd once mocked my pathetic salary and smiled. When she showed up at my door 3 days later, she wasn't wearing confidence anymore. Her tone was brittle. "You knew?" she asked. I looked at her like one looks at a reflection they no longer recognize. I knew enough, I said. She stepped closer. You can't do this. He'll lose his license, and you'll lose everything you think you've earned. I set a folder on the table. Inside were copies of their transfers, messages, forged sign-offs, everything perfectly organized. Take them, I said. You'll need them for your defense. She didn't touch it. She just stared. You planned this, she whispered. No, I replied. You planned this. I just finished it. Her breath caught. For the first time, she seemed small. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't gloat. I simply walked past her, out the door, and left her standing in the ruins of her own cleverness. Behind me, the silence cracked, fragile, breaking. A sob, maybe. But I didn't turn around. Weeks later, I received a notice. Her lawyer was under investigation. She had vanished from the city. The house is quiet again, the kind of quiet I once feared. Now I crave it. I make my coffee in the same kitchen, sit at the same table, but the air feels cleaner. Sometimes I think about her voice, sharp, certain, cruel, and how small it must have sounded when the walls began to close in. They always mistake calm for weakness. They forget that silence has teeth. I learned that from her. And when I finally signed the last document closing our shared accounts, I paused for just a moment and thought, she wanted freedom. She got it, at a cost she never saw coming. Final line. I never raised my voice. Never sought revenge. I simply let the truth do what I never had to.